I do a lot of barbecuing, which means I use a lot of charcoal. And my charcoal of choice is good hardwood lump charcoal. The problem is a bag of quality lump charcoal like this costs at least $30 depending on the store and if it's on sale or whatever. And while I don't have an endless supply of lump charcoal or an endless supply of $30, I do have a near endless supply of firewood. So in this video, I'm going to be showing how I make small batches of very good quality hardwood lump charcoal right here in my backyard. Here's the charcoal making vessel I'm going to be using. This is sold as an outdoor trash can, but it's the perfect container for making a small batch of lump charcoal. This 6-gallon galvanized steel bucket has a sturdy lid that locks firmly into place when the handle is upright, which is exactly the sort of fireproof, sealable container we need. There is one modification I need to make, and that's to cut a small hole in the lid. We want this thing to be pretty sealed, but it does need a vent through which gases and steam can escape. So I'll use my Dremel tool to cut about a 1¼ inch hole right about here in the lid. And the exact size of this chimney hole doesn't matter too much. You don't want it especially large, and making it too small could inhibit the release of gases, but a hole about like this will work just fine. Now to start loading up the bucket with the hardwood that will become charcoal. For my charcoal, I'm using some of my quality oak wood that I also use for smoking. I previously cut a bunch of my oak splits into smaller chunks, and I'll just pick and choose which ones are going to fit best into this bucket. The idea is to pack as many in there as possible, so Tetris them in there any which way you can. That looks pretty good to me, so I'm putting on the lid, locking it into place, and now we're moving over to the fire pit. The whole idea behind this process is to essentially bake the hardwood at a very high temperature without allowing it to actually catch fire or burn. That's why the wood chunks are inside the metal container. To achieve our very high temperatures, I'll be absolutely surrounding the bucket with regular firewood. You don't have to use this particular kind of wood for the fire. You can burn hardwood, pine, scrub, old lumber, or anything really. You just have to keep the fire going and keep the heat up for a period of a couple hours or more, and my firewood splits are going to achieve that with minimal maintenance or supervision. Now with the help of a few fire starters and my blowtorch, I'll get this whole thing lit up. I'm looking for a good even heat all around the bucket, so I'll give all that firewood a few minutes to catch and come up to a steady burn. After a few minutes, we're looking pretty good. I just need to let the fire continue to grow and do its thing to cook all the hardwood chunks inside that metal can. Once the temperatures inside that can reach somewhere between 900 and 1000 degrees Fahrenheit, a chemical process called pyrolysis begins. Pyrolysis is the heating of organic matter in the absence of oxygen, so cooking the wood without letting it ever catch fire. This process causes thermal decomposition of nearly all materials in that wood until all we're left with is chunks of carbon, which is our charcoal. Now, in the case of our rudimentary pyrolysis chamber, some oxygen may get in through that chimney hole at first, but as soon as that hardwood really starts heating up, it's going to be releasing a constant stream of steam and gases through the vent hole, effectively preventing any outside air from seeping its way inside. And I guess it's kind of hard to see the smoke flowing out of that vent right now due to all the smoke from the surrounding fire. Anyway, we need to just let this all burn away for a little while it goes through its first phase, which I guess I'll call the smoking and steaming phase. After a little while, maybe around 30 or 45 minutes, we'll enter the next phase, which I'll call the torch phase. This is when we observe a visible and audible jet of fire start shooting from the vent hole. The gases being vented from our cooking wood are now highly flammable, and they're ignited from the surrounding campfire. This jet of fire doesn't make its way down into the canister through that vent hole. Those gases will just start burning off after leaving the canister. And the intensity of that fire jet will go up and down for the next couple of hours. It starts off pretty tame and then becomes quite a forceful pillar of fire, and then after a while longer, sort of tames back down. Early on in the torch phase, it's kind of hard to see the flame, again because of all the surrounding flames from the campfire. But when I hold my shovel just in the path of it, that flame becomes a lot more apparent on camera. But as we let the process go on a while longer, and the intensity of the venting gases increases, we can clearly see the unmistakable jet of fire shooting out of that thing. This will go on for another hour or two before there are no more escaping gases to ignite. Once that jet of fire completely stops and remains stopped for a few minutes, the process is complete. So I'll use my shovel to carefully remove that screaming hot can from the fire pit and set it on a couple bricks to cool for the next several hours. After many hours, this bucket and its contents are completely cooled down to room temperature, so let's pop off that lid and see how we did. And I'd say that's some mighty fine looking lump charcoal right there. I've got some nice sized chunks and they break right apart with almost no effort. The charcoal is now ready to use or store in some kind of container to use later. And what kind of video would this be if I didn't demonstrate using some of my homemade charcoal to grill something up? So there you have it. If you've got a fire pit and a whole bunch of firewood, all you really need is to get your hands on some kind of steel container that you can cut a small hole in the top of. From there, a little time and patience, and you'll have all of the lump hardwood charcoal you could ever want. Be sure to like and subscribe and stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including future barbecue and DIY videos. And consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/Great Lakes Country. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm John, and this is Great Lakes Country.